Hello, everyone. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network, a subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Our mantra is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. The views of the guest may not represent those of the host of the station. Folks, I'm excited today. As I always say when I do my show, have you ever worked in a toxic work environment? I know I have. And if you have, you're going to want to listen to my guest today. My guest today is an expert in her field. My guest is Catherine Mattice. She is an international expert on toxic work culture and behavior. She is founder of Stability Partners. She is author of Navigating a Toxic Workplace for Dummies. Catherine is a leading voice in workplace culture transformation. Catherine has been helping organizations like NASA, Chevron, and Stanford University turn toxic workplaces into thriving, high-performing cultures since 2008. Catherine has been featured in Forbes Corporation, Entrepreneur, USA Today, and her 60-plus LinkedIn learning courses have reached over 3 million learners worldwide. Wow, I'm excited. I want to welcome you, Catherine Mattice, to Chatting with Betsy.
Thank you. I'm excited, too.
Well, Catherine, I'm going to ask you, first of all, how did you get into this field? Because it's so important, and I wish I knew you, probably a good 10 years ago, if not longer.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for asking. So I was internal HR in an organization and found myself working with a bully, I guess. And, this individual was yelling. He was toxic. He made it clear if he didn't like you very much versus if he did like you. And I really experienced firsthand the damage that he was causing the organization. As HR, I was, hiring people. They'd quit, hiring more people. So I was spending time and resources. And I also was on his list of people he did not like. So I also experienced this as an individual and how damaging it is for a person. And while I was working there, I started getting my master's degree in organizational communication. And I ended up doing all of my graduate research on toxic work environments, and I just kind of really wanted to understand the situation I was in. As frustrated as I was also sort of fascinated by it. Kind of like, why do we all in this office allow this one person to be this way? How come nobody's speaking up? And so I got out of graduate school. I had all this knowledge rolling around in my head, so I wrote a book called Back Off, and Ken Blanchard wrote the foreword for it, and I started my business.
Well, that's incredible. That's a great incentive to go into the field that you went into because you've experienced it firsthand and you know what that is like. And I have to ask, because I'm so curious, why is it that it is always that one person and a company will keep that person, whether it be male or female, whatever they go by, and instead of they'll let other people go, and they see their good quality people leave, and yet they'll have this toxic person stay. I just can't figure that out.
Yeah, great question. Well, the main reason that I see is people who engage in workplace bullying, for example, are very high performers generally. And so the organization is afraid to really hold them accountable because they either bring in big sales or they have a lot of industry contacts or they have a lot of organizational knowledge. So there's something that this individual possesses that the organization wants to hang on to. And then there's a couple other reasons. Another is that it's hard to put a price on the damage. It's hard to say, well, you can't look at your profit and loss statement and say, well, bullying is costing us this or turnover is really costing us this number. So I find a lot of times that HR is made aware of these complaints, as I was, and tries to talk to the leadership team about it and get some permission and resources to address the behavior. And because the company may be doing really well, it's hard for the leadership team to really grasp the damage that's being caused. So it's like HR is going, hey, we need to fix this. I'm getting a lot of complaints. And the leadership team's going, well, they're a really high performer. They bring in a ton of sales. Our numbers look good, so let's not rock the boat. So that's the reason.
Sometimes they just don't want to rock the boat. I don't know what it is, Catherine. You might laugh when I tell you this. I have worked in only really mainly female-dominated work environments. Mm-hmm. And, we hear how men can be towards women. I have found that women are very toxic to each other. I mean, they just are vicious.
Yes.
And it's in the helping, I should say, the helping fields like nursing or teaching. And you would think that these people, these women, would be more empathetic with each other, more understanding. They're not. I mean, nurses will eat their young.
I was just going to say that. There's a saying around that. I don't really have an answer as to why women go after other women. I have some thoughts on it, but I haven't necessarily dug into any research to have a clear answer. But not that you asked me the question, but I think just from I'm going to back up. So, if you're around high school girls, for example, you can see them look each other up and down, and they're assessing each other, and that never goes away. And just from a very bottom of the barrel, basic human instinct position, women are fighting for resources, i.e., men, right, to have children, and all of that is totally unrelated to the workplace. But I think there's some instinct there where women sort of generally see each other as a threat, and that's unfortunate.
You know what? You are so right, because I never was able to understand why women couldn't work together. Okay, someone new comes onto the job. Why don't you show them the ropes so that everyone could be successful? But they do see someone new as a threat. They do see someone doing their job as a threat, or getting along with parents. I have to tell you, I have to share this with you, Catherine. I mean, talking about toxic workplaces. I worked in one as a nurse. I've seen nurses set people up, make people's lives miserable, so they have to be taken off that floor. I also worked in a preschool. And this one particular person was extremely jealous of everyone, a very insecure person. And one time it was Christmas time, and I happened to have gotten an extra gift card from a parent and not the group leader. So this person, she went over to the group leader and said, Betsy got a gift from so-and-so's parents. And she even opened up my envelope. I mean, it was already opened, but she looked in it. So she looked into it. And, I wanted to keep the peace, so I didn't say anything. And I just said to group leader, don't be mad at me. I don't know why they gave me another gift card.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's interesting.
I do believe, because they know that I truly cared about their child, and that's why. And I have, they kind of knew my situation. My husband had Alzheimer's. So, I mean, you're going to be jealous of a gift card when you know my husband's dying? Are you serious? This is what I wanted to say. Now, I'm a totally different person now, Catherine, than I was 6 years ago, when the place closed because of COVID, but now I wouldn't have put up with that. Now I would have said something. How do you deal with somebody like that is just a troublemaker?
Well, there's a lot of different ways. I'll start by saying the earlier you do it, the better. So it's a lot harder to, try to get somebody to stop being mean to you if they've already been doing it for 6 months or a year. So my first piece of advice is, as soon as somebody pushes on you like that or kind of crosses that line and they're becoming uncivil, you've got to say something. Now, what you say can vary, and no matter where you are in the process in terms of being mistreated, a couple options for you. One is ask questions. That's my favorite, which is a way to call out their behavior without kind of finger wagging, right? So you maybe could have said something like, hey, I'm curious why you're so interested in my gift card. Or, hey, I'm curious, do you always open other people's mail? And you could kind of make a joke out of it. And that could have, put kind of like, oh, gosh, maybe I shouldn't have done that, because we all do have social norms, right? So questions are great. Another thing you could say is just kind of be more matter-of-fact about it, where you say, look, it feels like you're jealous or there's something going on here, but it's not, I don't know why they gave it to me, and I'm just going to be appreciative, so thank you, and walk away. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of different ways to speak up. Another option or something else I tell if you're witnessing something like that is to just kind of make yourself known. So maybe, for example, if I had been standing there, I could come over and lock arms with you while she's having this interaction with you, just so she recognizes, like, somebody else is watching this and is on, this side, not on your side. So that's an option if you're an upstander, but you're not really ready to say something out loud, So there's a variety of ways. Never feel like speaking up is shaming them or finger wagging at them. And I think a lot of times people feel like, well, it's not my job to help them manage their behavior. But I would argue that it kind of is, right? We're all humans. We're all in charge of creating a safe space. We're in whatever space we're in. And finding ways that are comfortable for you is important.
Yeah, so you know what, Catherine, just from talking to you just this little bit, I would highly recommend for any company to contact you because
Thank you.
I think you're welcome. I think every company needs to take a course from you, training, however you word it. I think all workplaces can benefit from it. I have another story, if you don't mind, to share, because this will probably blow your mind. In the preschool, there was only maybe 10 of us, I think. I don't think any more than 10 or 12 of us. And this girl got engaged. One of the workers got engaged. Wonderful, right? That's a happy occasion. Yeah. I didn't know because I'm not, I wasn't in the loop. I'm not in the clique. I never was in a clique. So there's women, Indian women, took Brianne out to an Indian dinner to celebrate. I wasn't insulted. I wasn't invited. It didn't insult me. I couldn't have went anyway. Well, what happened was someone the same person looked at my gift card, told everybody that these women were taking Brianne out and they weren't invited, and they were mad that they weren't invited. So I guess that Monday I came in, people were crying. I mean, it was fucking toxic. One of the women, she said to me, Betsy, I'm so sorry. I said, why are you sorry? She goes, I didn't invite you. I said, don't worry about it. My feelings aren't hurt. You didn't hurt me. You could have taken her to Taj Mahal in India for all I care. I mean, I couldn't have went anyway. I mean, that's fine. And the director made all the women, the Asian Indian women, miserable, made them cry, said racist things to them. Then, unknown to me, of course, the secretary was collecting money. We're going to have a luncheon for, I thought, Brianne. I thought everybody was invited. I didn't know until the food came that there wasn't anything vegetarian. I said, you don't have vegetarian for the people who don't eat meat? She said, no, it's not for them. It's only for us. Now, Catherine, you know that's wrong on so many levels. First of all, what people do outside the walls, facility, which is what I said, that's their business. What I do on my time, that's my business. What everyone else does, that's their business. But when you on company grounds exclude people because their ethnic background, now you're talking legal here. Now you're talking discrimination. And I felt so bad. I cried in my car. I just cried in my car because I was so upset. I had no idea.
That's the thing. Oh, go ahead.
They said to me, Betsy, why did you participate? And I said, listen, Crystal asked me for money. I was planning, having food for Brienne. I didn't think to ask if everyone was invited. I assumed everybody was invited because everyone usually is. How was I supposed to know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think your point that, this could be discrimination or a harassment even is the business case.
Yes. Hello?
Bullying versus not having food that's available for everybody to eat, or sort of, forcing people down into boxes. That bullying can easily evolve into harassment and discrimination, as you've just shared in your example. And I'll tell you, the reason that director acted that way, the reason people engage in this toxic behavior is because they have very low self-esteem, and they are trying to prove how competent they are. And so that's why when you think about these two examples you shared, the gift card means that you're more valued, you're better at your job, in her mind. That she wasn't invited to this dinner, it means that people don't like me, I'm not valued. So they're usually reacting to feeling upset about people not realizing their value. And it often comes, I'm not a therapist, but in coaching individuals like that director, it's exactly who I coach. I've just found this pattern in all of them, that they all have a reason for fighting. Something happened to them with their parents when they were younger, or, they've gotten into their career and had to fight pretty hard to be noticed and seen, and so they're just carrying that. So, my coaching's, in very simple terms, the coaching that I do is really kind of around, you're good. Recognize that you are valued. You're the director. You're the CEO. You're the, executive. You've made it. You don't have to show people how valuable you are by beating them up.
It was wild. The owner's sister called her sister and said, listen, you and Mark better come over here and have the meeting because this is getting wild. You could be sued. These women can sue you, even though you had nothing to do with it, but they could sue you because they were discriminated against on your grounds. Yeah. In your place of employment. And the director ended up leaving in a huff. She left. And they would, it was just unbelievable. Me, I personally really couldn't care. One of the people who were involved, she said, Betsy, you don't care that you weren't invited? I said, no, I don't care. I have other things on my mind, like my husband's health. This is nonsense. This means nothing. Yeah. I'll tell you what, Catherine, and I told people at work this, there's nothing like a terminal illness to put your perspectives in order, right? Your priorities. Yes. And really, and I said this, I said, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care what people do outside these walls. What I do care about is how we treat each other here. We need to treat each other with respect and dignity. That's what you should be concerned about, not what people do outside of work. Yeah. It's none of your business. And I just cannot believe the pettiness. It was just, I was just stunned. about the whole situation.
Well, everything I come across, I've been doing this for 17 years, and I'm still stunned when I come across certain scenarios. I've seen a lot, and it seems like nothing should shock me at this point, but that is not the case. And as adults, it's pretty difficult in a scenario like that for adults to even really recognize or admit that.
Yeah, they don't want to, admit, maybe I'm crossing the line here.
It's hard to kind of go, oh my gosh, I'm being bullied, because we feel like once we're all adults, we're supposed to all get along. Like when we graduate high school and go into the professional world, we just kind of figure it'll be fine, but it's actually not. And when my daughter, who's in 6th grade, talks to me about problems with other kids, I'm like, it never goes away. That's why I do what I do. All
that's
I can
so
do
true.
Is help you try to solve it.
That is so true, because I'm with the philosophy, unless the bully changes, they are going to be a bully in the work environment. They're just going to bring that right into where they work. And it's so funny, because I did the aftercare, and you could see the pecking order even in preschool children. I couldn't believe it. They had their own, pecking order and picking on each other. And I used to tell them, Miss Betsy does not want to hear any mean girl talk. I said, you have plenty of time for that when you're in middle school. You're in preschool.
Yeah.
Be nice to each other. And so one time I heard one of the girls, she said, I'm going to tell Miss Betsy. Miss Betsy said she doesn't want to hear any mean girl talk in her aftercare. I just cried out laughing. Because I think management, and I heard a preacher say this, I think it's so true, everything rises and falls on leadership. And I think if you have leadership in a workplace to set an example and to set the environment of not, tolerating being toxic, I think it would be better. Do you believe that, Catherine, or do you have another philosophy?
You cut out there for a second. Say that again.
Oh, do you believe that everything rises and falls on leadership as far as management, setting the tone, setting the environment for not tolerating toxic behavior?
I actually don't. I don't think it rises and falls with the leadership. I think that leadership plays a role in company culture, certainly, but every group of individuals has a culture within it. So in your scenario where the director was being that way and there's only 10 of you, then the answer is yes, right? Because that person's in charge and they're right there in your face all the time. But in larger companies, it's not about the CEO. It's about the people that you're working with. It's about, your manager plays a role in your team's culture. But we all have the ability to influence culture. So don't, just because somebody has hierarchy, it doesn't mean that everything's rising and falling with them. So that's like when we do our upstander training where we give tips like the ones I was giving you earlier, we always talk about, you can't wait around for managers to just fix things. You can influence things. You can be in a meeting and stand up if you're noticing some microaggressions. You can, step in and say, hey, I think we're getting off track here. It sounds like this is getting heated. Should we reconvene later? You don't have to be the manager to do that.
Right. That's a good point. I like that.
The other thing I'll say is it's not just the people who create culture. So culture exists, we call it the oil model. Culture exists within organizational behavior, individual behavior, and leadership behavior. So one place that organizations often fail is maybe they have, for example, a harassment prevention policy or an anti-bullying policy, but that's not enough organizational behavior to actually put a stop to that behavior. The organization has to look at itself and how it functions and ask, how do we make sure that people are being respectful? What are the things we're doing that kind of facilitate disrespect. So certainly those answers sometimes come from leaders, but they can also come from the people. So I always say that statement culture comes from the top. I do not agree with.
Oh, okay. That's a interesting point. So that's why I love talking to different people, because I like getting different opinions. I don't remember, Catherine or audience, if I mentioned this in my opening, but you are also author of Navigating a Toxic Workplace for Dummies. Can't remember if I mentioned that. I like the name of that book. And can you tell us what motivated you to write that book, and how can someone benefit from reading that book? Because I think that book, it sounds like it should be in everyone's office, everyone's human resource office.
Yeah, so, the For Dummies series is by Wiley Publishing. They've been publishing For Dummies books on all sorts of topics since the 90s.
Yes.
And so they actually reached out to me and asked me if I would write it. So somebody at Wiley decided they needed to have a book on this topic, and then they went looking for an author to write it, and she found me. So I was very, very proud of that they came to me, not the other way around. The book has three sections.
That's great.
So, yeah, thank you. The book has 3 sections. The first 4 chapters are very kind of like, here's how toxic behavior happens and why it happens and what it looks like, and kind of the picture of what's going on. The middle section is really for individuals. So if you're an employee and you're looking for things that you can do to influence your own work environment, that whole middle section's for you. And then the end of the book, the last section, is for managers, leaders, and HR. So if you're in a role where you can influence decisions and things in the organization, that section's for you. And that's all about, conducting a workforce survey, getting people who bully coaching. And so there's something for everyone, no matter where in the situation you fall.
I have to ask you this question, Catherine, because I'm really curious. Are you seeing an increase in bullying or hostile work environments, and have you been busier now? When I mean now, I mean like post-COVID, with doing training sessions or seminars, workshops?
Yeah. Yes. So there's a lot of research, too, out there, lots of companies doing kind of tone checks in the state of America, and I think 85% of Americans agree that incivility is getting worse, not better.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. I think
extremely.
Yeah, I think that we need to bring back our humanity.
Yes, we do. We do. Well, yeah, so we have been getting, I think organizations are really recognizing that civility and helping people feel valued is an important part of the employee experience. And so I think I'm not getting more work because incivility or toxic behavior is worse or there's more of it. I think it's more being driven by the organizations realizing that they can't allow this behavior to go on. And especially, if you think about the younger generations coming into the workforce, my age and at your age, we did not have bullying assemblies. We didn't have policies really around bullying, so we weren't talking about it. But, my kids, they're growing up in an environment where that's part of the deal. There's a zero tolerance policy for bullying. They talk about it in every single grade. So they're getting more awareness. So they're going to, they're coming into the workforce saying, I'm not tolerating this behavior. I've already learned about it, and I know it's not okay. So I think employers are responding to that.
You know what? You brought up a really great point, because the people that I worked with, I was in my late 50s, early 60s when I was in the preschool, but, around the same age, like within, I'd say the same decade. Some were a lot younger than me, but I mean, the director, she was older than me. So, yeah, you grew up with being picked on. You grew up being bullied, and no one, you know, you were just told to, like, you know, suck it up. You know, started growing up.
Yeah,
really. That's what. Yeah. Like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger is what we were told.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to comment, just because this happened the other day, something came up. I was doing a training around, it was for a networking group who, you know, obviously the networking group can't manage people's behavior. These are all professionals who pay a fee to be in the group. But they wanted to give members the ability to kind of hold each other accountable for, you know, being respectful. And this one person commented in the chat about, well, isn't this all about being a snowflake? Can't people, you know, just get along or whatever? And I think that's a sign of this generational difference that we're talking about. And so my comment back to that individual was, there's a lot of words that we were saying in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s that we don't say now. And it's not because of all the snowflakes over the years. It's because we're getting more and more aware of people's needs and treating them as if they're valued, because they are valued. They're humans. And so when I hear that snowflake, kind of like you're being overly sensitive, I just think back, you know, we're you know, black people being sensitive when they didn't want to be called the N-word. No, they're not snowflakes. It's not an appropriate word. And so I just felt like I wanted to call that out, because it's not about being a snowflake. It's about being respected.
Yeah, that's true. And the director of the preschool, she used to say, and even to the parents, she used to say, well, you people this, you people that. But she didn't think anything of it because she grew up, you know, in the in the you know, 60s and 70s. So she didn't see herself as racist. She really didn't.
But it comes across that way.
Yes. And she would say, I'm not racist. And just the way, you know, she would talk. I mean, sometimes people do come across as being very harsh or very abrupt, and I guess, you know, that could just be the personality. But I think sensitivity training is really needed nowadays, and just common polite manners. You know, thank you, you're welcome, looking someone in the eye when you're talking to them.
And saying excuse me when you bump into them. And not cutting, or when you interrupt. So excuse me, Betsy, I interrupted you.
Yeah, that's so important. And I think that people should think before they react, especially in sending an email or a text. They should think. I have to ask you, because this question's on my mind, so it must be meant for me to ask, because I had interviewed someone a few years ago about bullying in the workplace. She talked about the herd, H-E-R-D, mentality, that sometimes there's a gang of people that will gang up on one employee. I'm sure you've heard of that. What's your opinion on that, or your advice on that?
Yeah, so in the research they call that mobbing. Hazing is certainly a form of that. So some comments that come at the top of my head here are, for example, if a woman joins a fire department and she's one of few women or the only woman, and she's being hazed, and the firemen are saying, oh, that's just our culture, we haze people, but it's aimed at her. Now it has crossed over into harassment, discrimination, right? So that's unlawful behavior. Versus if a male joins a fire department and it's all males and they haze the male, it's not unlawful harassment because it's not based on any sort of protected characteristic, but it's hazing and it's bullying. And if that person feels, you know, pushed down and devalued and shamed, then that behavior is not okay. So a lot of times I think in those kinds of scenarios it does happen. I've also been in organizations where cliques really are a big problem. You have groups of people that really silo themselves off and band together and are rude to other people. And, yeah, it's a very real thing. You mentioned cliques at the place that you were at. And it's the same. You handle it the same way you would handle it if it's one person. It can be scarier because it's a group of them. And that's where if you're in a situation where it's a group of people bullying you or harassing you, that really there's power in numbers. So you would want to gather witnesses and kind of ask people, hey, do you see how they've been treating me? Is that normal here? Or if you're a new employee, I feel like I'm being hazed. Is that part of the culture here? Because I don't like it. And get people to give you their perspective and come with you to file a complaint with HR that you're not making it up, or it's not that you're being too sensitive, that other people are witnessing the way you're being treated.
That is great advice, because that does happen. I've seen it happen, and it's not pleasant. I was in a situation where they, when I worked in this is when we had a lot of kids in the aftercare, and they didn't want me there. So they made up excuses and told the director that I was hiding. I wasn't hiding. I was waiting for a kid to get out of the bathroom. It took forever. And they made up lies. Yeah. But I didn't even feel like fighting it. I wasn't at the time emotionally together. At that time, really, I was working 40 hours a week, and I was very stressed, and it felt like I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. So you know what, Catherine, they actually did me a favor. The director cut my hours down, did me the biggest favor, cut my hours down. I went to see a therapist because I needed help, and I was much better. And then I got invited back into aftercare. Like they were doing me a favor.
Nice. But
it was, and they made comments, the one person, maybe I should go for help. I said, yeah, maybe you should. No, it's helping me. I'm a big mental health advocate, Catherine, and I know you're not a therapist, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, sometimes workplace harassment or an uncivilized workplace makes people depressed, and people have actually have done acts of suicide because of it. And that is not acceptable. Or to be, for a person to be depressed. And I think that people, should be supportive. Would you believe I was reported, you're going to laugh at this, I was reported for ordering out food for my family.
Oh, my goodness.
Can you imagine? See, now, if I was a director and you were an employee and you came to me and you said, so-and-so orders out, I would have said, so what? What, are you jealous?
Yeah.
Is that your business? Yep. I could not believe it. But you know what? I think especially if people are going through a rough time, don't judge them because they order out. Why don't you say, hey, I see you're having a rough time. Can I help you? Is there any way I can help you? And I made, remarks, well, I don't have anyone cooking for me, so I can't go home and take an hour to cook. So I order out. It's not like my family was starving.
Right.
But just like a little nitpicking like that shouldn't even be accepted by a director or a CEO or whoever's in charge. I mean, that's just being ridiculous.
Yeah, unfortunately, leaders in that scenario will put it back on people and say, well, you guys are adults, just work it out. Why are you, and so that's a big part of my messaging, and that's why we're civility partners. That's uncivil, that nitpicking, micromanaging of each other, and that uncivil behavior it's the gateway drug. It creates a norm that being kind of toxic like that is acceptable, and then people's feelings get more and more hurt, and the tension increases, and eventually it turns into more like bullying and or harassment. So that's always the messaging we have, is address those things early on, because it certainly does cause harm. And it's just kind of back to that whole thing. I think it's a generational thing too, of just, well, you just go to work, you got your paycheck, that's the exchange. It's not up to the organization to make you happy while you're there, but the exchange is no longer just about a paycheck. It's about making your employees feel valued and that they get to learn and grow and become better humans because they work there, and that's the exchange. And I think some employers feel like that's an unfair exchange, but we spend so much time at work, it's not an unfair exchange.
Yeah, we do. I mean, some people work 8 to 12, 16 hours. I think we should try to get along. I mean, I used to tell my son, not everyone's going to like you. You may not like everybody, but you try to get along. You just learn to get along with each other. I really enjoy talking to you, Catherine, so much. Where can people first buy your book, which sounds fantastic, Navigating a Toxic Workplace for Dummies?
Can you say that again?
Where can people purchase your book, Navigating a Toxic Workplace for Dummies?
It's at all the major bookstores. You can certainly order it on Amazon, and you can find me at civilitypartners.com or on LinkedIn, just under Catherine Mattice, or just Google workplace bullying expert. I'm sure I would show up. I'm all over the internet, easy to find, and definitely grab a copy of the book. There's so much information in there. It's like 380 pages of everything I've ever known about toxic work environments and how to address them.
That sounds great. And also, I want the audience to know that you can tell the name of your talk that you did. It's on YouTube. Folks, you have to hear Catherine Mattice talk about the workplace environment. I forgot to write down the name of your talk, Catherine. So could you tell the exact name of your talk?
Oh gosh, I don't remember, but it's under something called Sue Talks, which was started by some ladies here in San Diego. It's kind of like TED Talks, but for women and empowering each other. And so they call them Sue Talks. And if you just Googled Sue Talks, Catherine Mattice, you would find it, because I can't remember the name of it either.
That's okay. I'm going to put that in the notes, because I found it very helpful. I should have written it down, but you have to forgive me. I forgot.
All good.
Excuse me. I forgot to write it down. But folks, I always try to encourage the audience, Catherine, to Google my guest. Go on their website, because there's only so much information. We can give you 45 minutes to an hour, and I could talk an hour about Catherine's resume, because she is that wonderful of a resource. And I highly want to encourage everyone to purchase a copy of the book. If you were in leadership, you're a CEO, you need to contact Catherine Mattice and get some workshops and seminars going in your place of employment. I think the whole world could benefit. Do you do Zoom, Catherine? Like to foreign countries? Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm so glad to hear that, because this show, Passion World Talk Radio, is heard in over 170 countries. So if you're overseas, you hear this, Catherine does Zoom. So
yeah, and we even fly places. So we've got clients all over the world. So if you need, we do a lot of different types of things. We can certainly do virtual training over Zoom. We also can fly there and do it in person, depending on the goals. And we do workforce surveys, and we do coaching and helping organizations get clarity on the kind of culture they want to have and how to get there. So please do reach out if you need it.
Excellent. I'm going to spell the names. Catherine, Catherine, Mattice, Mattice. And I so enjoyed talking to you today, Catherine Mattice. I love your insights, and thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Folks, all the notes, information about Catherine Mattice will be in the blog that Jeannie White writes, and Jeannie is the station manager and produces the show. So I always thank Jeannie. I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, CEO of Passion World Talk Radio, who makes this all possible. And I want to thank you for listening and subscribing. If you don't already subscribe to Chatting with Betsy, please do so. It is for free. I'm on Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, just to name a few. And you can follow me on Facebook, Betsy E. Wurzel, Wurzel. And as I always say at the end of my show, in a world where you could be anything, please be kind and shine your light bright, because we need it now more than ever before. And being kind wherever you go, especially at the workplace, we need to be more kind to each other and show our humanity. I'm a product of the 60s, folks, and the 70s, and I believe in, love, peace, and brotherhood. So, and I still do. And, just a kind word to someone at work can make all the difference in the world to that person at that particular time. You have no idea the kindness, the ripples that kindness can produce. So let's everyone please be kind. And that's all I have to say today. This is Betsy Wurzel. Thank you for joining me. You're welcome. Host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network, a subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Bye-bye now.